First place I want to dive in with 25-21 is I have never moved on from the fountain scene. No. Like, the fountain scene might be top 10 of K-drama scenes. And that's crazy. Imagine if I was to do a ranking for that. And maybe I might. Do you know what I mean? If you guys ask nicely enough, I'll do it. But obviously, that fountain scene is so good. And especially, obviously, the song that obviously plays during it. But I feel like I don't even know what it is about that scene. I guess it's the playfulness in it and the fact that the water's just pouring out, and it just also feels playful. It's romantic. Like, the whole thing, actually, Baek-Jin and obviously Hedo's relationship was very much playful in the very early bits of their relationship. Obviously, it was quite playful. It was quite youthful because, of course, they were in their 20s and they were, well, then again, no. This is the thing. I just said to you guys they were in their 20s. No. Obviously how 25-21 is told. It's told through Hedo's daughter reading her diary. So this is where we'll start off. That is where the story is retold to us. So it's narrated to us in that way. So we're basically being told the story through scribblings. Do you know what I mean? Through writings. Through tellings. Which, I do love it when they do stories in that way. Like, that reminds me of exactly Interview with a Vampire, right? We get it. Because obviously Daniel wasn't able to interview Claudia, which we do know why. But then, of course, they had Claudia's diaries, so they were able to read her diary to obviously know, the feeling she was having of being a young new vampire and all that kind of stuff and what it was like for her. But I just think that's the best way, really, anyways, to tell. But of course, exactly, it would have been great, I suppose. It would have been nice also, I mean, if like the daughter had gone to Hedo and been like, yeah, tell me the story. Not just exactly. The whole thing about the diary telling of stories is it's an invasion of privacy, and we're like, come on now. Even though we're like, this is her daughter, but we're still like, no. Would you read your mother's diaries? I guess you would. Because again, actually, who else is to blame for that? Flipping, what's her name? Sophie and Mamma Mia. We said, who else is to blame for that? People just coming across their mother's diaries and picking them up and reading them when actually it's none of your business. It's actually none of your business. And then I feel like exactly in the way that the story's told made us believe that possibly Baek-Jin could have been her potential father. And then obviously we're met with the realization that, he's not. But then what's crazy, I suppose, in that show, the whole thing would have been like, you would have done the maths, but then it probably would have been like, yeah, you would have done the maths. It would have been like, there's no way he could have been her child anyways. Not even, I mean, I don't know, like, that's the thing. But then I think maybe she was around the age of she was around the age that you would have thought that it could have been him, although obviously it wasn't. Even that scene as well, when he's interviewing her, imagine having to be interviewing your ex, but you have to pretend like you don't even know them. I'm like, he's like, congrats, Hido, on your wedding. We're like, what? We're like, hold on, you guys are not strangers. You know each other, and you know each other's lives inside and out, actually. Well, you used to anyways. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I wanted to do 25-21 because even so, the funny thing is that I've obviously been getting so much 25-21 TikToks. And again, actually, that's not even to do with the fact that I'm doing the episode. I think it's to do with yeah, it's just to do with algorithm, I think, anyways. Like, that's always the thing. That's to do with algorithm. And when you're watching, well, actually, no. When you like exactly one video of a topic that you like, it just comes up repeatedly. Do you know what I mean? So that's what happens. It's just similar to how, yeah, usually I see a lot of 25, 21 edits. And also, of course, Week Hero. I see Week Hero edits all the time. And it's just like, it's crazy. But yeah, so even coming across the edits, I was like, yeah, I have to talk about this show because obviously, yeah, it's insane. I think, oh yeah, and also technically, I think obviously I'm recording this on the 22nd, but yesterday was obviously 25 day, of course. Like the, what's it called? Yes, the anniversary of the show. So yeah, it would have been good. I mean, that's what I thought. I thought when I saw it on TikTok, I was like, it would have been great if I had recorded it, in order for it to come out yesterday. That would have been fantastic. But obviously, it's like I think I didn't even know that that was a thing. It's like how exactly everyone does the Mamma Mia thing what is it? Yeah, every year, and also the one where Lana Del Rey says that date. I think, remember, she goes, the party, oh yeah, the party is December 18th. Obviously we're nowhere near there, but yeah, I think it's similar to that. But I didn't know that this was a running tradition, like, as in that people are like, oh my gosh, it's 25 day. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know that that was a thing. But then it's also like, who would even want to, like, I'm like, who would want to remember that? You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't, because it's just like, it's so much to be reminded of. Do you know what I mean? To be reminded of their whole entire relationship as well. And I feel like, yeah, I've never rewatched the show again, and that just says everything, actually, because obviously one time is enough. Oh my god, and of course, before I even dive into the show again, obviously properly, 25, 21 was obviously where I met Choi Han-wook. Yes. I feel like for a lot of you, of course, actually, because this is the whole thing. People always talk about Weak Hero, and they're like, Weak Hero was out for a lot of people beforehand. Like, exactly, I watched Weak Hero on Netflix, right? And then what's the word? Yeah, I watched it on Netflix, but I know a lot of people watched it before. And I think people were talking about that when Week Hero came on Netflix, because I guess people were like, oh, we were original fans, and then, like, you know what I mean? And like, you weren't there. And I hear all of that, because I I think exactly, we all do that. Do you know what I mean? We take on that role whenever anybody watches something new, or even, I suppose, when it just becomes a topic of gatekeeping. But exactly, so Week Hero exactly was in 2022, same year, obviously, as 25, 21. The guy was we said the guy was booked and busy. Even, actually, let me even check one more, actually, because obviously I'm also watching Choi in another drama at the minute. Okay, fine. Sorry, Racket Boys was obviously 2021. That's fair. But he was very busy in 2022. This is my whole point. Like, do you get what I mean? Because even and then another one. Sorry. Again, I have to talk about this because, of course, this is my, what's it called? Yes, Choi Homework agenda. Basically, I'm obviously just obsessed with him, you see. Oh, 2023. Twinkle Watermelon was 2023. So obviously 2021, 2022, 2023. But again, I'm watching, what is it? I'm watching two of those. Yes, two of those currently, obviously, because Week Hero just finished, like the second one just finished. And then obviously yeah, I'm watching Racket Boys and Twinkling Watermelon. And obviously Twinkling Watermelon as well just came out on Netflix as well. But my whole point is, exactly, if it wasn't for 25, 21, I actually wouldn't have known who he was. Probably not until I would have encountered Weak Hero. So that obviously would have been, yeah, that would have been a year. That would have been a year or two, like 2 or something years later. That would have, yeah, exactly, or 3, because I suppose Weak Hero did come on Netflix like either this year or last year. No, actually, no, it was this year, actually, because it's part of my K-drama list as well. Obviously, I got to watch Weak Hero 1, obviously, this year, and then Weak Hero 2 followed it right after, which was absolutely great. This is what I mean. I might to myself, everyone's like, oh, yeah, you're not an OG, because that's what people do. Do you know what I mean? But it's also like, it was so wonderful for me to watch Weak Hero, like first binge watch Weak Hero, right? Weak Hero 1, and then obviously be met with Weak Hero 2 shortly after. Oh, it was a gift. It felt like Christmas. I was like, wow, I needed that. I needed that so bad. But yeah, and I think aside from, like yeah, Hido and Baek-Jin's whole romance, which of course is just that where which is of course disastrous and upsetting. I feel like aside from all of that, I do just love 2521's message. Like what's it called? I think the two elements for me anyways are like friendships and aspirations, to be honest. Those are the two really key components, because basically, of course, 25, 21, like basically they all meet each other basically in summer. So it's basically like the summer of your life anyways, you know what I mean? I think that's why Baek-Jin had such a, what do you call it? Yeah, he had a hard time adapting when he moved away. I feel like that was why it was like, yeah, it was home sickness, but it was also like, exactly, it was homesickness, but it was also like a loss of summer, which I think can be a very huge gap. Like, I think summer is just one of those seasons, you know what I mean? It's one of those seasons that you really love, and when it's gone, it's gone. And then you have to wait for summer to come around again. You know what I mean? So, but then it wasn't even like that for Baek-Jin, because it wasn't even like he could just wait for it to come around, because obviously he was there in what was it, in New York. Yeah, he was in New York, and he was away from his friends, he was away from Hido, and then of course I do obviously, exactly, him moving away was the whole thing of why their relationship fell apart. There was no anything else that could really explain it. And then also it's just like, again, it's that time era as well anyways. Even though, yeah, because I was gonna say the time era of 25, 21, yes, is very much like, I'm sure it's like the 97s or whatever. It's one of those. So I felt like, I can't remember if they even had like, I can't remember if they had phones in this, because you know what I'm thinking of, isn't it? I'm thinking of Typhoon Family, obviously, and how Typhoon Family has, is also another drama that's now set in, not in modern times, which is so interesting, of course, because you see them with their pages and like, what do you call it? And like, yeah, and like, was it not even wired? Yeah, wired phones. Sorry. I'm like, I think, wow, that's what I also think about that time era. When you see wired phones, you're like, okay, well, we know where we are, because a wired phone is crazy. Because what do you mean? And I mean, you have to walk around with it. And that's just not great. You have to walk around with the wired phone. Not unless, exactly, I guess, yeah, if it's on the wall, like how you see it, exactly, you see it in like probably like young teen movies, and then also I suppose where else, yeah, young teen movies, and I guess in just like sometimes in some shows, and I guess sometimes, yes, they'll have the phone on the wall, and then I suppose people will stretch it all the way, exactly, all the way down as far as it can go. But I'm just like, yeah, I'm just like, Basically, my point is exactly why wired phones would have just, yeah, they would have stressed me out. Like, I just wouldn't be able to deal with them. Basically, I just wouldn't be able to. And of course, okay, sorry, another thing about the show is I did obviously really enjoy Hido, and like obviously the other girl, what's her name again? Yeah, Koyu Rim. I loved their kind of, what's it called? It was like, of course, they were competitive with one another, but then they became friends, which was just very nice because I feel like obviously Hido looked up to her, so then they found a friendship in that. I like how, oh my gosh, it says C also because it has lots of different dramas here that are, what's it called, in comparison 25-21. So I suppose like weightlifting fairy Kim Bok-ju and Racket Boys and Our Beloved Summer, and also Cheer Up as well. But the ones that they're putting down here at the bottom, I'm just like, sure, some of them are, but I would say like exactly, if I had to say which ones are most like 25-21, I would say weightlifting fairy Kim Bok-ju and Racket Boys and Cheer Up. And is there another one? Oh yeah, like Flowers in the Sand as well. It's just you basically want to, I think exactly, if you're going to compare any dramas 25-21, you want it to be dramas that exactly have sports in them. Like exactly, like as in have a key topic, something that obviously is the main theme of the program. It's not just people in a romantic relationship. There's actually other stuff going on here. Like obviously, exactly, Hida wanted to be a great fencer, and she did end up being that. That's the whole thing. She did so well with that, but she obviously worked so hard as well. And that makes me think of that other scene. Remember when obviously she's like, what's it called? Yeah, well, she's like to Baek-Jin, why would you believe in me? And she was like, oh, my mom doesn't even believe in me. And he's like, yeah, I just do believe in you, and I think that you'll go far. And we're like, oh my goodness, that is adorable. I'm just like, I'm probably, even when they first met as well, I feel like they had a great first meet too. Yeah. I don't know though, because I think what 25-21 makes me think of anyways is exactly that whole little past message, right? Take it back exactly to Fleabag. We're just like, why couldn't you work out? Do you know what I mean? Why couldn't it work? Why couldn't it withstand time? Do you know, all of these different things? Because even when I just saw in Google, it says the ending of 25-21 is sad because the main couple, Nahido and Baek-Jin, break up. And although they loved each other, their relationship was unable to withstand the pressures of their careers and the distance it created, leading to an emotional breakup and eventual separation. I'm like, come on, guys. You could have worked it out. I think, anyways, that is exactly the main thing around 25-21. The fact that it is a sad ending. But I feel like, obviously, it's realistic. And I do obviously feel like there's always that conversation about how Baek-Jin was in the US, but he didn't want to be there, and then I feel like he was doing it for his family, and he had a really hard time trying to deal with it, trying to deal with you know what's weird? I started thinking, if I was to rewatch the drama again, it just would be interesting to do so, just to wrap my head around the show again. And maybe I'll encounter new things. I think that's what I find enjoyable about rewatching things, because obviously, you know what I mean? You're just basically watching something again, but you're gonna have a different perspective on said thing. Like you're just gonna see it in a different way, and I think that's absolutely amazing. Oh, also I was saying about how that scene in particular in the show is very good. If I feel like it's interesting. Yes, if I had to pick, what is it? top 5 scenes in the show, yes, obviously the fountain scene would be number 1. Number 2, like second one, oh my gosh, yes, second one would probably be, yes, the shoe one. Like not even the second time though. Not even the second time when what's it called? When they kind of meet up again and they kind of come to terms with the fact that they're not going to work. Like not even then. That was their goodbye scene. So not even that shoe scene, but the first one. The one where obviously he scolds her for coming outside without her shoes tied. Or actually, not even, they weren't even tied, sorry. She wore the wrong shoes outside, and then he was like, oh, you could get into an accident. So that one was very good. So that's 2. And then I would say 3 would probably be, oh my gosh, 3 is when like he picks her up actually. I think, yes, exactly. That scene where he comes in there and he surprises her at her doorstep. That's the one. I was researching. That's the one where he comes there and it's basically, he comes at night and he just comes there and he just picks her up. Also, oh my gosh, wait, am I at 4? Okay, yeah, 4. The 4th one would be when Baek-Jin was drunk, and then obviously he's like, everyone, this is my girlfriend Hido, and then she's like, calm down. she's like calm down. And he's like, yeah, and he's like, this is my amazing girlfriend. That's a very good one. And then maybe last one. Oh my gosh, last one. I feel like there's so many good scenes in this show, so that's why I'm having a hard time at picking one. Obviously, next segment is going to be about the soundtracks, but I'm basically still thinking about the last, like the 5th one on my top scenes. But I think looking at their relationship as a whole, I generally do think that they did make the right decision. Generally, it's hard because exactly as viewers, I think it's hard to accept, because of course it is. And again, I always think what's interesting, remember, about bad endings versus good is that exactly we basically grow up on them. You know, we grow up on what do you call it? On happy endings, because the whole thing of, was it? Oh yeah, happily ever after. Sorry, that phrase. That's the one. So like we grow up on that. So it's basically hard for us to accept when 2 people don't end up together. So it's a bit difficult, but I know that that's why it's hard to accept even with them too. But their thing again is like, I do think it takes courage to know as well when a relationship is at its end as well. And even if, because I think again with theirs is that they obviously broke up like full of love, so it's not even like they fell out of it, they were still in it. But then it's the fact that what Baek-Jin's whole thing was not being selfish with Hido. And I know people say like, yes, you should be selfish, what's it called? Yeah, you should be selfish with your partner, but in the way that you can express whatever it is to them. Do you know what I mean? And you're allowed to do that because you're together. So you should share each other's pain. But I do feel like exactly Baek-Jin didn't want to share those things with Hido in the way that exactly they would affect her, and it would also then thus exactly what like then thus it would affect her career. Do you know what I mean? I think also with her trying to be a fencer, it's like you can't let anything really get in the way of that huge dream, because obviously it's one of those things that you need complete focus. Yeah, you need complete focus generally. You generally need complete focus, and you can't have any distractions. But that's what I think again about just when you're working towards a goal in sport anyways, you know? Those are very difficult, and I think the whole thing with sport is that you always have to keep going, and you can never actually basically, you don't really stop, because it's the whole thing with skill as well. We know that with skill, you always have to keep going at a skill to perfect it. And if you have any kind of, if you have any kind of break, it kind of feels like you're starting from square one. So that's why she basically just couldn't, there was no room for it. Do you know what I mean? There's no room for it. And it was like, if she was taking pauses or breaks, it just wasn't gonna, it was just gonna delay her. And she wasn't going to be the best. And that's what she wanted to be. Actually, before I'm holding you guys, because I'm like, what is my last scene? And I will find it. But like the whole thing as well, I also want to go back to Choi as well, because as I said, yeah, fan favorite. He's hilarious in this, and I feel like he plays these roles so well. Anyways, he's the guy. They like to call him for roles when he's playing a real goofy delinquent, and like that's what they want. Do you know what I mean? And I think they know it's what the people want too. They know the people want to see Choi Homework in roles like that. You know what I mean? Because I even found that so even aside from 25-21, as I was saying about his other dramas, right? I found that in even Racket Boys too. Because obviously he's a part of the team in Racket Boys. And like, again, he's still like, do you know what I mean? He's still comedic, even though, and again, it doesn't even feel like he's necessarily even in Racket Boys as a main character. I mean, he's one of the 4 boys at the front, but it's still like the main character obviously is it's the main guy. It's the one who moved to their village, so obviously he's the main character. Choi Han-wook is not. And oh my gosh, also, because I was gonna say, Choi Han-wook obviously has had his own role, like he's had his own main lead role, and I'm so glad for that. I haven't watched that, by the way, though, which is obviously Dearest Nemesis, but I haven't watched it, even though I probably should, because as I said, that's the only one I think that he has. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, you can also kind of say you can count Weak Hero as well to be his main lead role as well, but I just mean, I feel like, exactly, I don't like it when Choi is in, like, what's it called? When he's in side roles, like, he's too much of a, what's it called? Yeah, too much of a funny actor to really be on the side. I'm like, he needs to be at the very front, in center. Talking about this show again actually drew me apart. I just mean in the way that, like, exactly, 2 people filled with love who can't be together, and then and the fact that they need one another, because I mean, Baek-Jin saw Naido as like a beacon for light, a beacon for good, and exactly that was his reasoning for pulling away from her again, because that's the whole thing, and everyone knows that's what you should do in a relationship anyway. You don't want to feel like you need the person too much that you can't, like, what's the word, that you can't live, you know? And I feel like he realized that, you know, he realized how much he leaned on her, and he realized it was unhealthy, you know? It was unhealthy to the point where he knew that he was gonna have to really pull back. Anyways, I'm really thinking I might have to pick one that I mentioned earlier, which is when he tells Hido that he believes in her, because that's obviously when they're fencing, and that might be the one. Generally, because I was doing my little goggles, and I was doing, you know, the stuff, and then I was like, I feel like that's it. I don't feel like there's another one. That is the only one. And then I was just like, all the rest of them, watch the other scenes, they're all a bit too, they're a bit too sad. They remind me of the ending. Especially because then there was the other one again that I mentioned, exactly, the live television one, seeing your first love on the TV. I'm like, no, I wouldn't choose that one. I would not choose that one. I think also an honorable mention, actually, of scenes, again, would be, what's it called? would be, yeah, when they go on the trip. Yeah, when all of them go on the trip together, I like that one too. Because obviously it was funny because Baek-Jin basically had to take on the role of being the most responsible there. So I thought that was really funny. I'm going to take a moment to read a comment that I just found on the YouTube clip of the fountain scene, and it says Baek-Jin didn't fully enjoy his youth. Hido is here to make him remember and enjoy it again. Seeing him having fun playing with water is so metaphorical, because exactly that was another factor, was that of course we are shown his time in school, and it wasn't all it was supposed to be. So I think again, this is also again another thing, I suppose, that in a relationship, he gets to do loads of stuff that he didn't get to do when he was around Hido's age. So he's basically just reliving. Yeah, he's reliving his teen years. But then he's reliving his teen years through Hido. And then he's also trying to be the responsible one and be the one to shield her as well from any harshness, like the harshness of adulthood, which this is what I mean about him going off to the US and becoming a reporter and having to be faced with all this really real life stuff that he obviously would have wanted to shield Hido from. The next comment from this video is about the song 2521 by Jirim was played twice only during the entire series. Episode 2, this scene start off their core friendship, and episode 15 when they start growing apart. That's why the song really hits hard. It is played when they were 18 to 22 and then 21 to 25. And it's true actually, because I guess this song anyways is it's like, I guess when you think of like a theme song, it's basically that in this show. Which actually, this was like a good moment to segue into the soundtrack. So, the soundtrack is so good. And I would have to say, yes, I will say this on record. This drama might be one of my favorite soundtracks ever. Obviously, I have a playlist that is... I wouldn't say, I was going to say it's like, it's kind of for K-drama soundtracks, but then again, no. I thought I did want to make a separate one, but then I was like, no. I'm very much the person who likes to squeeze my playlists all into, I just squeeze them all into one, and if I can, it's like more so when you title it, it's more split into something. So there's this playlist I have titled movies, shows, and OSTs. So it's basically like that. And then obviously I do have a lot of the songs from this soundtrack in that playlist. I think my favorite one is obviously Starlight. I very much like Starlight. That is my favorite one in the whole entire show. And I think Starlight, there's also, I know there's one titled Starlight, and then there's also one that is by the artist called Bibi. But obviously I feel like exactly, even the soundtrack of the show kind of also plays a part in that whole nostalgia and youthfulness, I feel. So I do feel like that the soundtrack very much reflects that. I want to take out what I just said. Actually, very slowly, exactly, the one by Bibi is my favorite one, very slowly. And obviously Starlight is like, it's probably second. Because just, very slowly for me is very iconic. And then there's also the other one, which is Shine On You with blinding flashlights. But those are like, that would have to be my top 3, I meant, from the soundtrack. But I just mean the whole entire soundtrack is good anyways. And then of course, when I was touching on Jirim's song earlier as well, of course that one, but completely obvious. I think everyone says that they really like that one anyways. I think that one's very powerful. I do also think there's such a beauty in K-dramas like 25 and 21 as well, because they just feel like K-dramas that don't come around like very often. I just mean because they're very rare. Like and I think that happens a lot with a lot of stuff anyways as well. A lot of things that we watch are generally things that are just treasures, and they remain that way, you know, for a very long time. That's why when I was saying about the rewatching, they have to be revisited. Like, it's just right that they are revisited for that reason. So in saying that, I think I will start rewatching it. I mean, the funniest thing is I am rewatching some K dramas right now, but that's why I don't want to try to do that, because there's also ones that I'm currently watching that I haven't been obviously paying much attention to. And this is the whole thing. Like, that's why I feel like rewatching basically interrupts your new watching, you know? I'm just like, that's my issue. I think what obviously I like to do, I did it in the actually, yeah, I did it in the previous episode. So obviously I'm giving you guys a recommendation at the end of each episode. The recommendation will be I'm thinking. Hold on, I'm pondering. Actually, okay, no, the recommendation for this episode is weightlifting fairy Kim Bok-Joo. And actually, no, I'll give you two. Because actually I just remember the one I was thinking of. The one I was actually thinking of. So I'll give you two. Lucky. Weightlifting fairy Kim Bok-Joo, I would say, obviously, because that also stars Namju. So I would say that yes, of course. And I do obviously feel like both of them have that kind of same comedic flair. Like, obviously, exactly, he calls Bok-Joo Chubs. Do you get it? I'm like, that tells you all you need to know, that the drama's very like silly and silly, excuse me, youthful, everything that you need. Again, so that's why I kind of do think as dramas, they do very much compare to each other. And also because obviously weightlifting very Kim-Bok-Joo, like I was saying earlier, is one that's surrounded by sport again, which is obviously weightlifting. Like, hello, it's in the name. Weightlifting. So obviously, like, Kim Bok-Joo's like, she's a weightlifter, and then Namju's character is a swimmer. So, and then of course swimming, that leads me on to the next recommendation. Yeah, swimming leads me to the next recommendation, because I was saying about dramas that I'm currently rewatching, which is Lovely Runner. And Lovely Runner will be one of the episodes, actually. I also should just check that list really quickly, because I don't even want to give you, you know what I mean? Because we'll talk about it in detail. So, oh yeah, Lovely Runner, actually. Lovely Runner is the next episode, guys. So, what I will say is why I said exactly, so swimming, and I was like, obviously, the character in Lovely Runner is obviously into swimming, and he's also an idol as well. And then obviously you have the main character in Lovely Runner who what's the word, she basically has an accident, and then but she has the ability to also time travel. I think time travel in just dramas in general is absolutely amazing, which is what I was talking about in my previous episode, to do with Japanese media and how The Greatest Teacher is The Greatest Teacher is such a great show, because I was like, I don't even think I've seen Japanese dramas do that before. But then again, when I think about it, I'm like, animes like to do time travel stuff, which reminds me of like Time Patrol Bond. So I was like, this is actually like, this is their field. This is normal. They do things like this all the time, you know. They like to go out of, what's it called? Yeah, go outside the box, you know, which is not what really, like, if we're serious, it's not what Hollywood really does, you know. They like to just, what's it called? Remake things. And like also look at adaptations as well. So that's basically their ballpark. But they don't do anything crazy, you know? They don't do stuff that's crazy, and they don't like to like give us something new. They don't like that. But I think the reason why they don't like that, so I'll give you this little tidbit. The reason why I think they don't like to do that is because obviously the US has very much what's it called? They have very strict like things of what they can do, you see, because I feel like in the US people have a lot of issues with like everything. So it's like, they are not allowed to go outside of the bounds because, they have to stay in, otherwise it could be removed. It's the same thing of how, I suppose, what's it called, they had Trump in South Park, right? But I guess Trump didn't like it, which, okay, valid. Who would like to see an episode made about them? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't either. But it's still just like, oh, I think should like take it on the chin. That's what I think personally. But as I said, they're not that kind of people. I just think, I guess us, like British people, anyway, that's why I said us. If you're not British, sorry. But I mean, like, I think British people, we don't mind, like, what's it called? Yeah, our humor is much more extreme. So we kind of don't really mind with those things. But this is our whole thing. And I'm just like, that's why I just mean on the topic of time travel. I'm just like, why is it that we don't get that enough? And the only one I can really say ever did time travel right is About Time, and that's it. Like, you guys should do more. Do you know what I mean? And maybe actually fine, let me be nice and say Marvel, of course, because they do time travel in a great way also. But they could do way more though, they could do way more. And also, I think one last thing, because now I suppose I'm just on a roll and I'm just ranting, just spitballing, is just like, obviously America can get better at doing what's it called, casting calls, but in the way that they showcase fresh faces instead of like, I don't know, I was gonna look and think of an actress. I don't know, Emma Stone. Sorry. I was like, Emma Stone's the first person I saw on my wall, but then I was like, oh, I like Emma Stone. But then I was just like, I mean, because we see her so often, that's what my whole point is. It's just like, it's better if they just say, yeah, not say, sorry. It's more show. It's not say, it's show, because we want new faces. So it's more looking, rather than showing. I don't think they're gonna flesh out new stories to us anytime soon. That's just my opinion. Even though maybe harsh, because a lot of directors are really trying to give us that though. Shout out to Ryan Coogler. They are trying to give it to us, but it's gonna be a hard race, I feel. So, good luck to him and all the other ones who are trying to give us, absolute cinema. So yeah. But anyways, thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next episode of K-Drama A Day.